When I, female 26, met my husband's 34 mom, I hoped for a healthy mother figure type relationship. She's okay-ish, but she can be a little controlling. Given that my husband is her only child, she tends to act super protective of him. When I got pregnant, my mother-in-law requested to be the first person to hold my son after he was born. She wanted to be in the delivery room with me, but I refused to let her. Finally, my husband said he'd keep her out of the room under the condition that she be the first person to hold the baby. I didn't agree but didn't disagree as well, just stayed silent. The baby was born days ago. All my husband was worried about was having his mom be the first to meet the baby, but she was out of town attending a friend's daughter's wedding. He said she wouldn't be back till 2 days later. Mom and sister already came to help, and they held my son while helping me after my husband returned to work. I had no one to help, and they were my go-to. Mother-in-law and my husband knew. They both went off and started throwing a fit, saying that I betrayed her and made a promise, then broke it. My husband tried to get her to calm down after she came home lashing out, but she scolded us both and then walked out. He blew up at me saying I screwed up and violated our agreement. I said that mom and sister were helping me out and held the baby. So what? He got angrier and claimed I had no respect for his mom and her wishes and told me that I hurt her feelings and ruined her grandbaby's birth memory. I couldn't keep arguing. He called me unbelievably selfish and demanded I fix my mistake, but I wasn't sure what he meant by that. Like redo the baby's birth and have his mom be the first to hold him? He didn't like my sarcasm and said that what I did was sneaky and cold-hearted. He said he should have let his mom in the delivery room, otherwise none of this would have happened. They're both still salty about it and are sulking hard. Am I the idiot? He's calling you selfish after you grew and birthed the baby? Also, what kind of psycho request is it from your husband and mother-in-law to be the first to hold your child? Hun, best wishes for a speedy divorce. You are not the idiot. Why do your husband and your mother-in-law seem to think her needs are more important than yours? I've never heard of anything like this before. Also, your mother-in-law goes to a wedding just when her grandchild is born and expects you to keep your family at bay? Ridiculous. Your mother-in-law needs to know that your health and well-being mean that the baby's well cared for. Tell your husband to grow up and see what's important here, you and your baby. Mother-in-law doesn't get a say and does not deserve special privileges just because she says so. OP had a baby for the mother and son but didn't know it. Normally, I would say something deep, meaningful, or reassuring, but I'm speechless on this one. OP, your dope of a husband and his Klingon level 5 mother are the idiots. Set boundaries now. This will only get worse. There's a problem here, and it will escalate with mother-in-law wanting more and more first. It won't be long before those first come at your expense. When you're in the delivery room, you're in charge. Not your husband, not his mother. If it were so important to her, as she claims, she'd have been there, even if she wasn't allowed in the room. If she wasn't even there to be kept out, that agreement you didn't even technically agree to is null and void. She was out of town. Was the baby supposed to be untouched until she came back? Ridiculous. So sorry you're a single mom to 2 babies and have a third in such close orbit. You married a mama's boy. My 53 male, wife 45, and I've been married for 10 years. I have a bio son from my previous marriage, Logan, 28, and 3 stepchildren with my wife, Mike, teen male, Lisa, teen female, and Nina, tween female. I haven't seen my son since the global issue started because he got stuck in another country. We text, call, and video call, but it's not the same as having him here. When flights were allowed again, he still couldn't come since he got a fantastic job opportunity and wanted to do his best. It made me sad because I miss my boy so much. However, I understood that life is sometimes hard. I love my stepchildren so much. I call them my children and they call me dad. I'm only calling them stepchildren for the sake of the post. They're amazing kids, and I'm really proud of the lot. My birthdays are magical with them, with lots of fun, games, and food. This year, Logan's coming to the U.S. for a work trip that falls in my birthday week. My birthday's Tuesday, and he's coming Monday to Friday to a city close to where we live. Unfortunately, he's unable to make the drive here and there, so I said I'd be coming to him since his company allows 1 free day per worker during that week, and he asked for Tuesday. This means I won't be able to be here with the rest of my children since I'll have to leave at 5 a.m., and then I'll be back around 10 or 11 p.m. When I told them, they were bummed, and Mike said it was unfair of me to choose my bio kid over them. But as I see it, I have to choose either way. My kids go to school in the morning, so we would celebrate between 2 and 3 p.m., but unfortunately, I can't take them with me, and Logan can't come here, so it's just a day in all these years. I've been unable to see him, and we can still do something together during the weekend. I apologized but said that my decision was my final decision, and that night my wife said I was an idiot and that I was no better than those step-parents who cast their stepchildren aside for the bio kids. She said she knows I've always loved Logan more, which is not true. She tells me going will damage my relationship with my stepkids forever. Not the idiot. She says you're one of those step-parents who cast the stepkids aside? No, she's one of those parents. He's her stepson, just as they are your stepchildren. The fact she doesn't want you to go see him sounds like she's trying to make sure her kids are more important rather than equally important. Don't let her stop you from seeing your boy. And I guarantee you, if you've raised those kids right, they'll understand when you explain it. Yeah, OP, your wife is unreasonable. If my husband hadn't seen his child in 3 years, I'd be pushing him out the door to go and see him. Spend a few days. I don't care if it's your birthday, my birthday. Go enjoy your time with him. I imagine your son would prefer to spend one-on-one time with you. I'm sure a lot has happened he wants to talk to you about without the teens around. The fact that his wife and stepkids take issue with this is blowing my mind. I went back to check the kids' ages and said, OMG, they're plenty old enough to understand the situation. If they were little kids or toddlers, I'd get them feeling that way. But they aren't. So anyway, OP chooses them every day by being there with them. Your wife in particular is being malicious. It sounds like she's trying to permanently edge Logan out of your life in favor of your stepkids. Go see your boy. She'll get on board or she won't. But isn't your son worth a day trip to see after 3 years? And if she gives you grief, get her to go to marriage counseling. She really needs to get over her insecurities and controlling attitude. Disagree. You are the idiot. You're treating those kids as not your children and they know it. Your son is an adult who's unable to drive here and there. Stop bending over backward for your bio son and recognize that your stepkids want to be present in your life and your birthday celebration. My nephew is a rainbow baby. My sister had a lot of trouble conceiving, and he was kind of a miracle. She was 42 when she finally managed to give birth. She was on bed rest for the last 3 months of her pregnancy. My nephew is now a young child, and while I love him, he's a monster. He throws tantrums when things don't go his way. He screams if he loses playing a game. He refuses to understand why he can't ride my 7-year-old Saint Bernard, and he thinks any food is his. My husband is diabetic, and he loves cookies. I found a bakery that makes amazing sugar-free cookies, but they're expensive. So I budget for them because my husband deserves his treats when he gets home from work. My sister was visiting, and my nephew ran around like a squirrel. He tripped and started crying, so my sister picked him up. He saw the cookie container on the counter and started asking for some. I said no, that they were special cookies for his uncle. I offered him a regular cookie or some fruit, but he got all upset that he was being denied. My sister asked if he could please have a cookie. I relented and gave him one. He took a bite, said it was yucky, and threw it on the ground. I was a little upset. A little while later, he came back and asked for another cookie. I said no. My sister said to just give him one. I told her no. He wasted the last one. He started screaming that he wanted a cookie. I stood my ground and he eventually went away. The next time he came, he didn't ask. He just went for the container. I grabbed the spray bottle I used to keep the cat off the counter. I gave him a couple of squirts and said, no. He got startled and ran away. My sister said her son isn't an animal to be reprimanded with water. The next time he entered the kitchen, I put my hand on the spray bottle. He didn't even look at the counter, and he went away. My sister called my parents to tell on me for treating her kid like that. They're mad at me for not giving in to the poor baby. If your sister wants to let him act like a wild thing, he will get trained like a wild thing. I totally get it. So let's break this down before some weirdo comes in and tries to make you feel guilty. Your husband has specific needs that can get pricey. As a person with dietary limitations and who lives with others who do as well, I know how unfair the diabetes/celiac tax is on a budget-strained house. This kid will get hit so hard by the world, and I legitimately bet this is the first time anyone said this. So I have two things for you. A golden, not the idiot. Your method of enforcing boundaries may be a little unorthodox, but it was effective and hilarious. It's not the kid's fault, it's the mother's. So when she fails to discipline him, grab the spray bottle and squirt her until she controls her kid. If your sister can't get her kid to understand that your house has rules for a reason and that you're unable to afford financially or from a stress perspective her excessive spoiling of her child, simply ban them from coming over. You have every right to protect your home, your sanity, your cookies, and quite frankly, I hope it makes her angry if you do it, so she's forced to realize that the way she's raising or not raising her child harms others. I, 22 male, lived in Tokyo for the first 10 years of my life. My parents aren't from there. My dad is American and my mom is Irish, but I was born there. I didn't go to an international school. I speak Japanese along with English. When I was 10, we moved to the US. I liked it. Then when I was 16, we moved to Ireland, and we've been here ever since. Now that the backstory's out of the way, I'll be quick. Recently, I started seeing this girl, 22. We've made it official. She's met my family, and I've met her family. Except for one person, her brother, 19, until 3 days ago. I was at her place and her brother came over to drop something off for their parents, and I met him. Instantly, he says, "I heard you lived in Japan for a while. That's so cool. I've wanted to live there forever. I speak Japanese." I instantly got really excited. I mean, the only other people I've known outside of Japan that can speak the language are my parents and this one guy in the US. So I started speaking to him in it, just asking him what interests him about the country, and he gets awkward, and then he leaves. He says I embarrassed him, and that he won't speak to me unless I apologize to him. My girlfriend and her parents don't think I did anything wrong, but I don't know. I feel really bad about it. Maybe I should have actually made sure he spoke the language, but I was just so excited. But that's why I'm here. I want an outside person's view. I've felt bad for 3 days, so I want to ask, am I the idiot? Ouch, the embarrassment is real. Not the idiot, OP. Sorry you have to apologize to him for something he did. Have you thought of apologizing in Japanese? I don't mean sorry. I mean a good 5-minute heartfelt apology. Indeed, the full proper Japanese public self-humiliation. The dude should appreciate that. After all, as it's part of the culture and he wants to live there, so he really should understand it, as if he moves there and makes a mistake at work, he'll be expected to do it. LOL, he embarrassed himself. He doesn't speak Japanese. He just watches anime. You shouldn't have to double check if he's telling the truth. He probably thinks you were testing him and his ego got hurt. Since you actually care and don't want any animosity between you and her brother, you could offer an apology for getting too excited to speak Japanese to someone other than your family, even though it doesn't sound like you did. Then just remember he's a sensitive drama queen for future interactions. I, 22 male, was adopted when I was around 2 years old. Not that I can actually remember, but that's what my parents say. By my darling mama, 52, and my beloved papa, 52. They had 2 kids before me and one after me, but never treated me any differently. My parents are now divorced, but I still have a great relationship with them both. All I know from my past is a letter my bio dad wrote for me. He was 15 at the time I was born, and in the letter, he said that it hurt him to give me up, and he promised to find me. I was handed this letter when I turned 12, and because of my parents' love and care, I never felt like looking for my bio parents. In May of this year, my papa called me. I don't live with any of my parents anymore, saying that my bio dad reached out to him to meet me. He claimed to be dying to meet me. Papa was requesting my permission to let him know my address or set up a meeting at a cafe or something. I didn't accede at first, but my papa encouraged me to do it, so I did. To my surprise, he was waiting for me with a woman who claimed to be my bio mom. They hugged and kissed me and we sat down to talk. They explained the circumstances that made them give me up. Basically, they were kids without their parents' support. They told me a little bit about their lives now. So basically, they're not together. They remarried. My bio dad married a man, and they have 2 daughters together. My bio mom married her husband and had a boy. So we talked about our lives the whole afternoon. They seemed to be nice people in their late 30s and not the monsters I thought they were. Anyway, I thought that'd be the first and last time we saw each other. I was taking it as closure. Like 2 weeks later, my bio dad sent me a text saying that he couldn't sleep since he met me and was desperate to meet me again and introduce me to my family, his husband and kids. Still, I let him know it was closure to me and not the opening of a new relationship, since I already have my family and he has his family. He seemed sad but accepted my wish for a while. My bio mom did something similar too, expressing her wish that I'd meet her husband and son. They stopped trying to meet again for a while, but started again in August. They started sending me texts about how much they loved me and wanted to meet again, and they also started sending gifts to my papa's house. They don't know where I live. My dad encourages me to give them a chance and meet their families, but I know my mom isn't comfortable with that idea, and I don't want her to feel betrayed by me. I decided I had enough, so I sent them a text requesting them to stop making things up and just give up on me because I already have 2 parents, and they should return to their loved and wanted families, and I just blocked them. My dad and friends say that I was too rude and I should apologize, but my mom thinks it was okay since they chose to disrespect my boundaries. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. I don't think they're bad people for giving you up, especially since they admitted that they couldn't have given you a good life. However, that doesn't mean that you owe them anything either. If you don't want a relationship with them, that's your right. They aren't entitled to you just because they made you. With that being said, you told them each how you felt nicely once, so you were within your right to be more aggressive about it the second time. Agree. This isn't something that can be forced on you. It seems that they've romanticized the idea of you for 22 years. Hopefully, they will stop harassing you now and get therapy to deal with the loss that they're both grieving. You have to do what feels right for you. There is no right or wrong with this. Your bio family gave you up. When they did that, they gave away any rights they had, including having a relationship with you. The cold fact is that they aren't your family. You have a family. You are the idiot, just for how you phrased that last message. You had one meeting with them, and you left it on a high note. Unfortunately, they perhaps naively believed that afterward, you just needed to be convinced that they were really serious about wanting to have a relationship with you. You could have just reiterated that while you understand their feelings, you're really not looking for a relationship. Instead of seemingly resentful, go back to the family and people who actually love you. It's so cold.